Hello, friends. Hello, my dear children. How are you? I hope you remember what we discussed in our previous session. I, Rakhi Mishra, once again welcome you to this second part of the story where we'll be discussing not the story, but we'll be discussing the language part of it. Because whenever we are reading a story, it is important for us to understand what the language part is. That is, we have to work with the words there, right? The way we did in the previous session, previous part, that we discussed the new words, we got to know the meanings of the new words, and then we also learnt about the message what the story had. Now, I'm sure you all remember what we discussed, what we all learned from the story. The story of this wise king and the queen, right? How did they decide the queen, or you can say the next ruler? They were not, they did not take the decision in hurry. They took a wise decision by observing all the actions of their son, of the sons and the daughter, right? The three sons and the daughter Sanatombi, right? So, my dear children, to have a quick recap of what we read in the story, let me take you to the story once again. You remember, there was a king and a queen, the Ningthou and Lema. Ningthou and Lema, these are the words used for king and queen respectively for in Manipuri language, right? So, my dear children, we have seen that it was time for the king to decide who would be the king, who would be the next ruler. And the people expected that it would be the eldest son, because that used to be the practice in the past. But this king was not like other kings. What he did, he decided that no, it is not the old practice that he is going to continue with. He is going to decide on the basis of a competition. He decided to hold one contest, and based on the contest, he found that all his three sons were so skilled that they finished the race in time and they all reached the place at the same time. So that it was difficult for the king. Now, the next thing came that you have to do something. He said to the children, you have to do something different. What different? You have to do something different from each other. And they were so skilled that each one of them, they were so skilled horsemen that each one of them just did not wait for the moment. And one by one, with the eldest, then the middle and the youngest, one after the other, they just took their horse and they showed their best. The first one pierced into the tree. The second one jumped through the tree. The third one, he was the one who did not, just to show his power, how mighty he was, he just uprooted the tree. And with this, they all wanted to prove themselves worthy of becoming the next ruler. But my dear children, the king was not that foolish. He again looked at the daughter and he realized that she was not happy. The Sanatombi, the daughter, was born after 12 years. She was not happy. She felt as if she felt the pain of the tree. And this entire thing, this entire episode was observed so keenly by the king. And he realized that it is she who is worthy of becoming the next ruler. It is she who is going to be the queen because she has felt the pain of this tree. If she could feel the pain of this tree, she would feel the pain of the people. She would feel the pain of the animals. And a good ruler should be the one who feels the pain of everyone and take care, love everyone, even this nature. Right? So finally, it was decided by the king, by Ningthou and Lema, that Who would be the next ruler? It would be Sanatombi. So my dear children, this was the quick recap of what the story was all about. Now, as I said, this part of our session is completely devoted for the language exercises, right? So we'll be doing some exercise with the words, right? We have to go and analyze some of the words, right? So for that, what would we do? See the question here. Read the lesson carefully and put a circle around all the action words with ed at the end. Then write them in one column and their present form in the other. One is done for you. Okay, my dear children, this is how it is shown here, but I'll take you to the story once again. I'll take you to some part of it, not the entire one, just to give you an idea, right? The question is that you have to find out those words which end with ed, right? And you'll find that why am I saying with ed? You must have learnt by now that there are some words which are called as action words, right? They are depicting some kind of action, right? So such words are called as verbs. And verbs, whenever we say, they are always in three forms, right? What are the three forms? Present, past, and past participle, right? So today we are going to discuss only the past form of the verbs, right? So now, my dear children, let me take you to this page, okay? Let us see if we have some verbs here. Yes, can you locate? We have one of the words that I have highlighted also, you can see on the screen. It's pierced, right? It is pierced. So ed is added here. So what is the root word here? Or you can say the main verb here, it is pierce, right? And if you add ed, it becomes pierced. Any action, you can say any action that is showing that it has been done in the past. It is not done now, it is not being done now, or it will not be done in future, but something that has already been completed, that something is already done, that is called as past tense, right? Now, when I say past, what does it mean? Now, when I am discussing with you, this is my present. Something that happened in the previous session, that becomes my past. And something that I'll be teaching you in future, that will be a future, right? So, this is what we have to learn. Now, another word, that is looked. What is the next verb here? You can see on the screen, looked. What is looked? Look is the main verb and we have added ed. Again, one more word. Can you locate? Yes, very good. Jumped, right? Jumped. Jumped. What is the main verb? Jump. And if you add ed, it becomes jumped. So like this, you have to sit and start from the first part of the story and find out, list all those words which are ending with ed, right? And what does it explain or what does it tell you? That these words are depicting or they are explaining the past action of any situation, right? Okay, so we have this task for you now. Here it is. First, one example is given to you. It is admitted, action words with admitted ed at the end, and the action words in the present is admit, right? So similarly, you have to continue with this list with all those words which are ending with ed. One beautiful thing I would like to mention here is while you are collecting all these words, you will observe one interesting fact. Like, see the word admit, right? The root word, we say root word, right? The root word here is admit. Now, when I am adding ed to it, I have doubled one letter. What is that? T. T has been doubled. In some cases, you will find the root word is retained. It is not disturbed. We keep that root word as it is. But in some cases, we will see that the root word ends with E. In that case, what do? In that case, we drop one E, right? And you'll find while you are collecting, when you will prepare the list of these words, you'll find that it is an interesting thing that in some cases, you yourself will find a variety of pattern. In some cases, the letter is doubled. In some cases, a letter is dropped. In some cases, the letter is retained, right? So please enjoy doing this task. I'm sure you'll have a long list of words with you, right? Okay, now let us move on to another task which is related to this. What is it? Here is a wonderful story. But it's not that we'll only enjoy the story. We'll also have something to work with the verbs that we just read about. In a forest, now when I say you have to use past tense, it means that any action that has been done in the past. Now, in most of the cases, you must have seen that when the story begins, we are narrating a story that has already happened. And something that has already happened will definitely be using the past tense of the verb. Sometimes you will hear teachers saying, we two, right? We one, we two. What is we two? We two is verb, second form of the verb, that is the past tense of the verb, right? Or the action word. Now here, the story goes. I'll just read it, giving you the entire list of verbs that are attached with each blank, and you have to observe very carefully how the pattern goes, right? Okay. After completing this task also, you'll have another thing to learn, interesting thing to learn about forms of verbs and the second form of verb. What is that? In a forest, there are three verbs given. Live, lives, lived. A goblin named Cruel. You know, goblin, what is it? You must have heard of Vikram Betal, right? So Vikram Betal was goblin, and the name was Cruel. One day he meets an old man wandering in the forest. Immediately Cruel leaps on to the old man's shoulders and ordered him. Let's go. Move fast. Now, here, my dear children, you have seen in the first option, you see the first blank. In the first option, you have the verb live, right? With the verb live, you have three forms. Can you tell me? Can you tell? What are the three verbs here? What are the three forms of the verb live? We have live, lives, and lived. Now, you can very well tell me that which one is the most correct one here? As we are talking about something which has happened in the past, it will be lived, right? So, once in forest, there lived a goblin named Cruel. One day, now another verb comes here, meet. The root word is meet. Meet, met, meets. I'm not talking about meets here. I'm not talking about lives here, right? Because that will take you to a different discussion. Here I'm concentrating on only the past form of the verbs. So here you will see that the root word of the root verb is meet, right? Root word is meet. But when I say one day he meet, it's not correct because the past tense of meet is met. Another interesting thing here, you see, meet and met. So in some cases, when you prepare another list of verbs with the first form and the second form, you will see in some cases ed is not added, but a new word somewhat related to that, somewhat similar to that is used. So here we have one such example, meet with met, right? The past tense of meet is met. This is how you have to gradually learn the forms of verbs. An old man wandering in the forest. Immediately, cruel. Leap, leaps, leapt. Again you find a word here. There what we had? Meet. One E was dropped to make the second form of the verb. Here what has happened? The root word is leap. And to make it past, what have I done? I have added T to it. So this is another form, right? So here leapt on to the old man's shoulders. And this is simple. This matches with the list that you have prepared, that is ordered him. Let's go. Move fast. The frightened old man. Obey, obeys, obeyed. Guess which one is the correct one? Yes, you are right. It is obeyed because I have added ed. So what is, now you can tell me what is the second form of the verb obey? It's obeyed. The nasty goblin. And walk, walks, walked. Which one is correct? Again, we have the second form of the verb walk, that is the past form of the verb walk, that is walked, right? So we have another example, another word where ed is added to make it past. As they move, moves, moved on. Now move, moves, moved. One more example to show how ed is added to make it past. As they moved, he noticed. Which one is the one? Noticed. Again ed is added, that the goblin's feet were very tender. The old man asks, asked. Cruel. What did he ask? When I say what did he ask, the reply immediately should be he asked. So whenever you are using did in a question, the reply, the answer should always be in the past. Remember this. Sir, how are your feet so soft and tender? Cruel replied. What does it mean? He replied. The entire thing is going in the past, right? Entire situation, whatever we are reading here, the story, entire story is not something that is happening now. It has already happened and we are reading something that has happened. So we are using here the second form of the verb. Cruel replied. Who is cruel? That goblin. Replied. Now, my dear children, in the above cases you have seen, in obeyed, walked, noticed, you have seen that only ed is added, right? And the root word is retained. In case of noticed, you must have observed that the root word is notice. But when I add ed to it, it becomes noticed, and one, instead of writing noticed, it becomes noticed. One e is dropped. So that is how we have to see the different patterns of using the past tense. Here in this case, replied. The root word is reply, reply. But when I make it past, when I want to add ed to it, it is ied. That means what? I will be dropping y there and I'll add I there. Instead of writing yed, I am writing ied, right? So this is how we have to learn. This will take some time, but I'm sure you will get it. You will understand it as you use with the time, and you'll be using it quite often. You'll be writing some stories, you'll be writing some paragraphs, and it will come very naturally to you. You need not worry about that. So Cruel replied, I have taken a vow that I will not touch the ground with my feet till I wash them. They soon came to a pool. Another one. Just now, what did we see? Either we have cases where ed is added and the root word is retained. Second, we have seen that a part of it is retained and a part of it is dropped. In some cases, we have seen that a new word is added. A new word has come up. A new form of word has come up. Like come, came, meet, met. So this is another way of using the past, right? The goblin instructed. Simple, you have added ed. The old man to wait for him while he entered the pool. The old man thought. Another example, just like meet, met, you have a different form of the verb think. To make it past, you have thought to himself. Now that the goblin has wet his feet, he does not need me. Let me run for my life, or he will surely eat me up. So he ran off, right? So here you have a mixture of words, mixture of verbs, note it, verbs which are used in different form to make it past. Somewhere we are adding simply ed to make it past. Somewhere we are retaining a part of the verb. Somewhere we are introducing another word, like totally a different verb, like run, ran, right? Okay, so with this we have completed the discussion of the story. Wonderful story, but the objective was a little different. We did not enjoy the story, but the objective was not to enjoy the story, but also to learn the verb forms, right? This is how you have to do whenever you are reading a story, whenever you are reading some text. See, because this is something new that you are introduced with. So you keep noting down, observe the patterns that the verbs have. What you have to do now, the next one, in the previous one, what I'll suggest you is that after reading this story, the small piece of story, you can just prepare the similar kind of list that we had done in the previous task here. Like action, you can add to this list action words, root words, and the words with ed, words without ed. So you can have two lists with you now. One verbs with ed, one verbs without ed. Right? Okay. So now the last activity for you all. Read any folk tale of your region. You know, we just traveled to Manipur. We got to know so many things about that. We saw in the first part of your session that I took you to that land, which is so beautiful, which has so beautiful scenery, right? Nature. And people enjoy their life amidst nature, right? They just love animals. They depend a lot. Their life depends a lot on forests, right? And here you will see that wherever you are, in whichever part of the country you are, each part of our country, that is what is the beauty of our country, that you have folk tales. And you must have read or heard these folk tales. Now it is time for you to read any folk tale of your region and write a paragraph. I don't want you to write the story. I don't want you to tell me what you have. You read lots and lots of things and write down story on your own. What you need to do, that the way we learned from the story of this Who Will Be Ningthou, what we can do is that we'll be reading. I would advise you to read some folk tales, and after you have read, you write a paragraph on mentioning about the characters. Like we have in the story that we have read, we have Ningthou, we have Lema, We have the 3 sons, we have the daughter, we have the ministers, we have other people, and the most important character is the people tree there. Even the people tree is also a character there, right? So mentioning the characters, their qualities, like you have Lema, you have Ningthou. They have different qualities. They have such wonderful, they are such wonderful rulers, right? And they are so wise. Similarly, you will read some folktale where you have so many characters having so many qualities. And what happened in the story? You can write down what actually happened in the story and why you like that particular character. Any particular character. Like in the story that we have read, it is, I think all of you will agree with me, it is Sanatombi whom you liked, and then the king and the queen. And what message do we get from that, right? So every folktale has a message, and we all must learn something. We must carry that message in our life and follow it so that we also get to know, we can improve ourselves, we can make ourselves better persons, the way we got it from the story, Who Will Be Ningthou. With this, my dear children, thank you so much. Hope you all enjoyed the session. Enjoy reading. Don't forget reading. Goodbye. Have a nice day.